Commas. They are small but powerful. If you know how to use them correctly, your writing will shine. Welcome back to Favor Child Space. In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you 5 easy rules in using commas correctly. Let's jump in. Rule number 1. Use commas to separate items in a list. For example, I bought oranges, apples, bananas, and grapes. Notice how there is a comma before the word "and." This is called the Oxford comma. Some people use it and some don't. In either way, a comma must be in between the items in the list. Now let's look at example without Oxford comma. I bought apples, bananas, and grapes. So if you look at the second example, you realize that there is no comma before the word "and." It is okay. So you can either write a comma before the word "and" or you write without a comma before the word "and." The most important thing is that there should be commas in between the items on the list. So you can either choose to use the Oxford comma or not to use the Oxford comma. It's up to you. Rule number 2. Commas with coordinating conjunctions. Use commas before coordinating conjunctions like "and," "so," or, "and but." When you are joining independent clauses, it is always important to use coordinating conjunctions. So you have to put a comma before the coordinating conjunction. For example, I want to go to the party, but I was so tired. She studied hard, so she passed the test. So in the example above, you realize that these are 2 sentences that are joined together. These are 2 independent sentences that are joined together to form one. So without a conjunction, you cannot join these sentences. And if you don't add a comma before the conjunction, you realize that the sentence may be confusing. So that is why commas are very, very important, especially when you're using coordinating conjunctions. Rule number 3. Introductory phrases or words. Use a comma after an introductory phrase, word, or clause. For example 1. In the morning, I like to drink coffee. Example 2. However, I don't drink coffee in the night. From the examples we have seen, you realize that the comma separates the introductory part from the main part. It's like a little pause that helps the reader to understand the sentence better. So please don't ever forget to use a comma in the introductory or after the introductory part. Rule number 4. Comma with non-essential information. We use a comma to separate non-essential information from the essential information in the sentence. For example, my friend who lives in London is visiting next week. My friend who lives in London is visiting next week. From the example that we just seen, you realize that the part "who lives in London" is not an essential information. So the commas there, they're just to indicate that that sentence can stand without that particular information. If we take out "who lives in London," the sentence still makes sense. The sentence still remains the same. The main information in the sentence will be gotten. For example, let's look at example without the non-essential information. Let's look at the example. My friend is visiting me next week. So if you look at that, you realize that the sentence still remains the same. The main idea in the sentence is still there, even though we have removed the non-essential part which says "who lives in London." So comma is very important because it makes us to separate the non-essential part from the essential part of the sentence. Rule number 5, commas in dates and addresses. Use commas to separate elements in dates and addresses. For example, she was born on June 5th, 1990 in Bangkok. Example 2, send the letter to 78/20, Muang Pitanolok, Thailand. Now you realize that when writing date and address, you will need commas between the date and the year, the day and the year, or the city and the country or the state. That's simple, right? Well, now let's recap the 5 simple rules of using commas. Rule 1, use commas in list. Rule 2, use commas with coordinating conjunctions. That's when joining 2 sentences or 2 independent sentences as one. Rule 3, use commas after introductory words. Rule 4, use commas to set off non-essential information. And Rule 5, use commas on dates and addresses. With these 5 rules, your comma games will be on point. If you found this video helpful, please don't hesitate to like, comment, share, subscribe for more grammar tips. If you have any questions concerning commas, you can drop your questions in the comment section. Hope to see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.